Okay, so welcome. Welcome everybody to this introduction call to the initiation into the masculine for women. So we're going to start with just a connection inward. So connecting to your yes for being here. And where is that yes coming from? Maybe you can feel that it's from your heart, or maybe you just want more information, it's more from your mind. Maybe it's your feminine in particular that's longing for more connection with the masculine within or around you, the healthy masculine. Maybe it's from your own masculine that's seeking more space, to be allowed to be more developed or refined, or to be recognized. And maybe it's also from your body itself, that your body in its wisdom is pointing you in this direction, maybe through accidents, illnesses, or maybe through orgasmic experiences, whatever the range might be, wherever you may fall in that in the body. Maybe it's from your soul. This part of you that knows it's not just what genitals this body has. It knows it's not just half of an orange, seeking another half. Maybe knows it has karma to burn. Maybe it's tired of personality stuff weighing on it, sitting on it, and said, hey, do this. And maybe as I've named these different parts, there's been some resistance. Some parts that either you don't know how to connect to, doesn't mean they're not there. Or just those parts were not a yes. And still you're here. So acknowledging wherever there's hesitation or resistance, and acknowledging where there's a yes. And what is it that you long for? Whatever the you that's answering. Taking a deep breath. Opening your eyes if they've been closed, and reconnecting with the screen and everybody else here. So that was just a very brief and flyby kind of introduction to the cross, which this work is about, or is part of. So the cross is, it's for me, and the way we refer to it, those who work with is the map, capital T, the path. And if you've read some of the background information I've already posted, it's a way for our souls to awaken, to come into fullness, wholeness, and for us to go through our initiations, our journey as a soul. So the masculine is one of the 4 polarities, 2 axes, vertical and horizontal. On the horizontal, there's the feminine and masculine. Doesn't matter right and left, okay, but feminine and masculine. And it doesn't matter what body you're in. Every human has a feminine and a masculine qualities, energy, aspects. And then on the vertical cross, we have soul and animal body, the part of us that knows it's eternal and that puts on many different avatars, clothings, takes human form, and not only human. And the animal body, which knows this is it. That once, that one time, one chance, this body only has this one experience. That's why they're polarities. And sometimes they can feel like they are opposites. And they're not. They're just polarities. Same with masculine and feminine. Many times in our daily life or external, whatever external realities we might be living, or the conditioning that we have received, we may feel like the masculine and the feminine, they're like opposites. No, they're not opposites, but they are polarities. And at the center of this cross, of these 2 axes, is what's behind them, or what's at their core. And that's spirit. That's where they all come from. So, in this call and in this initiation that you're invited to take part of, if you wish, we deal with the combination of soul and masculine, and body, animal body, and masculine. So between soul and masculine, you have the light masculine. This quadrant means square or 4, you have the light masculine. And between masculine and animal body, dark masculine. The reason why it's referred to as light masculine, and I'm not going to pretend that it's the best title, but this is what we have, is that this half of the cross, whether it's on the feminine side or the masculine side, this half is referred to as light. Doesn't mean better, it doesn't mean good and the other bad. There's no hierarchy here. It's just more etheric. So we could even say etheric masculine, except in humans it takes form. So etheric also doesn't work perfectly. But more in the light realms in terms of less grounded or less formed, less density, more connected with the soul realms. And this half of the cross, we have the dark. And again, the word dark has lots of misconceptions. Here it does not mean bad, it does not mean evil, it does not mean shadow, it just means more earthly. So light and dark are polarities, so they're used as terms Okay, they're not ideal. So dark masculine, more earthly or grounded or matter oriented masculine. If we all remembered who we truly are and where we come from, we would not need this cross. We would not need this map. But we don't. We have forgotten. So we use this map as a way of remembering and becoming whole. Does it really matter what falls under light and what falls under dark or earthly and or etheric? Does it really matter what falls under masculine and what falls under feminine? Those are useful tools, words, so that we can understand each other. But what really matters is that we become whole. That's actually the point. So if you're used to a tradition or other teachings that say, well, no, actually that's more light, or that's more masculine, or that's more feminine, and there's some contradiction to what I'm presenting here today, fine. The question is, have you integrated your healthy masculine? Whatever energies you might put under that, qualities, definitions. That's the point. So for me, my journey with the masculine has been a very interesting one, and a very prominent one in my life. It's part of a huge chunk of the karmas I'm meant to burn in this life have to do with the masculine. And for a long while, that had to do with men. My father left our family home when I was 1, and that truly shaped my relationship with men. What I sought, what I rejected, the games I played. Basically, my father was to blame for everything that didn't happen that I wanted to happen, or did happen that I didn't want to happen. Basically, any fuck up in my life, I could point the finger, because you weren't there, because you weren't there. That game lasted for a couple of decades. And then I had a father figure in my uncle who sexually abused me. And that really blurred the lines of love and the masculine, of responsibility, of integrity. A lot of the qualities that we would associate with the masculine: protection, safety. That also took some time to work through. So then there was this, not only can men not be trusted, but I'm superior to them. Because look, they run away from their responsibilities, their duties. They would be with a child. So I took many opportunities to play that game and to reinforce that belief that men can't be trusted. Later, I understood I was only harming myself. Not only, but primarily. But it was hard to shake that. And at the same time, I had very close friends who were men. And we were like brothers. And at the same time, I had boyfriends who loved me and wanted to marry me and were faithful and, not abusive. So I chose men who were the opposite of my father or my uncle, who were there and who loved and who were committed and all of that, so that I could end up leaving them, cheating on them, being the irresponsible one, being the one that didn't have integrity, etc., etc. by the time I was in my early mid-30s, I realized that I had a very distorted and skewed relationship with the masculine, whether it was in a man's body or my own body or other women's bodies. Very, very skewed, very distorted, very unhealthy. I was either playing the game of I'm more or I'm less. Daddy saved me, and then pff, I hate you, or I've got bigger balls than you do. And neither one of them were very satisfying, I have to admit. Momentarily, sure, there's an ego boost, but doesn't last for long. So by then, I had been working on my feminine for quite some years. Yeah, a few years, several years. And my teacher at that time insisted that if I continue to work on balancing my feminine, bringing my feminine into a place of being healthy, then the masculine would sort itself out, which is most people's approach. And so I did that for years. And no, it didn't. My feminine did come into a very healthy place, into great balance, and I'm very grateful for the years I spent focused on that. And I also recognize that if I had not focused on that, if I had not spent the time healing and bringing my feminine out into a place of where she was healthy enough or feeling like there was enough for her to stand, like, yes, I am a woman, and I'm not going to apologize for being a woman or being in a woman's body, then there probably wouldn't have been much room for the masculine, because my feminine would have been like, what? You're giving that a chance before, like, hello? Who? Me. Yeah. So I'm not saying that's everybody's path and order, but it was mine. So I'm just sharing with you kind of what were the steps. And I realized, yes, I'm in a beautiful, loving relationship with a man who's absolutely devoted and there for me, responsible, married. I was married to him, and I have a successful job. I function really well. I'm successful. I even started talking to my father again. We had a good relationship, like not the kind I would have put in a catalog in order and say, please give me this exactly. But, for where we had been, yes. And still, I just kept feeling inside. I knew I still regarded, there was still this like, yeah, but I can make you fall, or I'm going to prove that I'm more or better, or, but why don't you see me? Why don't you hear me? How, like validate my importance. And I was sick of it. So then thankfully, I came across Bruce Lyon and his work, and that's where the cross is from, through his 40 years of work through his life, where he has really been able to bring our polarities as human beings down to this core map. And he was the first to ever recognize the masculine in me consciously, like naming it, welcoming him, welcoming this energy, not something I had to hide or pretend is not there, and that was such an opening. And through that work, there has been a sense of coming into wholeness, coming into balance. And all I can say is, for myself and for all those in female bodies that I've worked with around this around the masculine, there's a deep sense of relief, like finally, that I don't have to go around with a begging bowl. Fill this. Be that presence, be that pillar of light, be that whatever, so that I can lean on, be that will protect me, be that I can feel safe around, be that, whatever. Fill my begging bowl. Oh, I can find it inside. Does that mean then I don't want to have relationships, or that, men are useless, or the masculine out there, I don't need, no, quite the opposite. Then I can really appreciate the masculine. I'm sure you have heard many times that if you don't have love inside, how can you give love? If you've never been, if you've never had a mother imprint or a father imprint, how can you, mother or father or whatever, these kinds of things that are said. If you don't have this, then if you don't have this energy inside of you, how do you give it out? What? If you don't have a deep appreciation for your own masculine, how do you appreciate the masculine out there fully, truly, deeply? It's the same. Does that make you manly? No. It makes you whole. It allows you to understand that you're a soul. A soul that has chosen to live this incarnation in a particular body that has certain genitals and hormones. And as a result, certain types of experiences, this way or that way. But I am not limited to that. You can recognize yourself as a soul if you remain identified as I am only feminine or as I am only woman. You don't stand a chance. Your soul doesn't stand a chance to ground. For you to know yourself as a soul every single day of your waking life, while you're cooking, while you're taking the kids to school, while you're doing your business, whatever you're doing. Because you've denied half of the energy that flows through you. So there are women who are afraid or worried that if they work on their masculine, then that will make them less feminine. And I assure you that it just gives more space for everything. And the same is true for those in men's bodies when they work on the feminine. There's a huge fear. Oh, I'm not gonna be the dude anymore. I'm not gonna be man enough anymore. We as females know that when a man is connected to his feminine, it's usually a turn on, actually. It usually makes him much more whole. And it's usually something that we're like, oh, couldn't you please? So the same thing applies here. They have that same fear, we have that same fear, but it's unfounded. It's just fear. It's not fact. So, well, that's about the cross. Now I want to say, I'm just going to spend a little bit more time talking, giving theory, and then I want to invite your questions. And I have some questions that have already come in from those who can't be here live, so I'll also address those. I want to speak to the masculine in particular, in the cross, the light and dark brother, the brotherhood, the brothers in us. And I'm going to describe a little bit, and I'm going to invite you to just feel where you can recognize yourself, these energies in you, whether they are the healthy version or a distorted version, because I'll also name the distorted versions. And those distorted versions may be the overdevelopment of this energy, then becomes distorted, or the underdevelopment also is a shadow that I haven't integrated, I haven't recognized this part in me. So then it comes out in some shadowy ways. So I will start to describe, and the invitation is not to just let it be mental, but to feel these words, feel the energy of these words. How do they vibrate? Is there any, do I even know what that means? Or like, yeah, that's me. Or, ooh, you know, hate to say it, but that's also me. So like that, just a few minutes, I'll go through. So all of what I'm about to say is written and in other webinars, and this is recorded and it will be posted, so you don't have to worry about taking notes or getting it here. The importance is to actually allow yourself to feel it. So that's the invitation. Take it or leave it. So I start with the light brother. Connecting to the sense of presence. Integrity. Purpose. I know I am here. And now into the more distorted energies. I can't deal with these emotions, mine or anyone else's or someone else's. The intensity of emotions, the intensity of sexuality. I need to escape, or it's too much. I judge it. Lack of presence. Or judging this body because it farts, or because it needs food, or because it sleeps, or gets sick, or tired. Or needing to understand and know. This is usually over-identification with the light masculine, and now we'll go to under stunted. I have no clue why I'm here. No direction, no focus, or not enough, according to me. I feel like I'm just kind of wandering around or being thrown around by life, circumstance. I easily get lost in emotions, in sexual energy, lack of discipline. I'll just give a minute to let this vibrate through, and it's normal that you would be able to identify with something in the healthy, something in the overdeveloped, and something in the stunted. That's, you don't have to choose one of the three. It's most likely that you will have had something from all three or two. And connect in your heart How did this happen? Who have been the models that have modeled this excess, lack, or healthy expression in my life, in this life? Or maybe it's not about this life. Maybe it's things that I have brought in, karmas or gifts that I've developed or accumulated in previous lives. Because there's no explanation for it in this one. Just connect to what is your longing with the light masculine, the light brother. Is there a light brother inside of you that's like, hey, see me? Or maybe he's quite active in your life already, and there's a need to bring him into balance. And if you could choose just one karmic lesson, have a sense of it, let it reveal itself, that you are meant to learn from this quadrant. It's a life lesson. It's not about this moment or the particular relationship you're in, but it could also apply to that, of course, because if it's a life lesson, it will show up time and time again in your life. Trusting whatever comes in terms of the lesson. And taking a deep breath, and now I'm going to move into the dark brother. And again, I'll name some energies or qualities, aspects, and you see what resonates. I stand. I stand for what is right. I stand for the sacred. Even if I'm alone, I stand. I know what I want. I can claim what is rightfully mine. I can shoot an arrow and hit bullseye, passing through bullshit layers. Focused, penetrative, present. And the distorted now. I take without consent. I feel entitled. I play power over games. Whether that's with physical power, emotional energy, mental capacity. I stand out of stubbornness, out of ego, that you will not see me fall, or I will not yield. I am not weak. And we go into the underdeveloped now. I don't know what I want, or I may have an idea, some clue of what I want, but I surely can't claim it or forget even being able to say it. Lack of focus, lack of integrity. I cannot claim. Also sexually, what I want, what I desire. Also financially. I play the victim. Or I believe I am one. And it's not just playing. And again, letting these energies vibrate and recognizing what has been the modeling. Maybe it was in women's bodies, maybe it was in men's bodies. Where has it come from? The overdeveloped, the stunted, or the healthy? And maybe some of it comes from previous lives, karmas, or gifts. Because I just simply can't explain it from anything that's happened in this life. And if I could resonate with one overarching life lesson, karmic lesson, that the dark brother, this archetype, I'm meant to learn through this quadrant, what would it be? Okay. Letting that settle. This is to give you a taste of the light and dark brother. I have a 1.5 hour webinar, each one of them, free on YouTube on my channel, so you can get lots more, even if you're not registering for this intensive. It's available to you. So please help yourself if you haven't already. And there's blogs also that I have written, so there's plenty more. It's just to give you a taste. Because when I work with these, we work through different rings. There's 3 rings, and there's the personality ring. And this is more about what wounding or what fear has developed around these energies in my personality. And then we also work with the archetypal energy, which may start off as my light masculine or my dark masculine, but evolves into the, with a capital T, the. So it's not that it's mine, but it's this energy that's flowing through, and I allow it. Same as you would do with the feminine archetypes. And then the center ring is spirit, connecting to how each one of these quadrants, each one of these energies is sourced in life itself, in spirit, is power without qualifier, is love without qualifier, is life without qualifier. And then it puts on this avatar and this archetype, and then that takes on more clothing and accessories, and then becomes your individual expression of it. Moving out of the rings now. Many of us have worked on one or another quadrant in other bodies, other opportunities, and we come in with certain gifts. And so we might be more feeling at home, what I refer to as home base, in a particular quadrant, or half, more into the ethers, more into the light, or more into the dark, more into the earthly, or more into the feminine, or more into the masculine, or a particular quadrant. The point is not to stick with what you already have developed. That's beautiful, and that can be an incredible gift for you, loved ones, humanity. But the reason your soul keeps incarnating is to become whole, not to keep putting on the same shoe. You don't have to throw away the shoe, but have 4 shoes, let's say. And the reason why we work with archetypes is because this is the best way I can explain it is, let's say there's 8 billion humans on the planet, roughly. And according to Jung, there's about, let's say 12, 24 archetypes, main. And then you reduce those to 4. Archetypes are a bridge to then the nothingness or the everythingness. If you put them all together, you get everything, or you go to what's behind or at the center of each one and you have the nothing. Whichever way you want to look at it, it doesn't matter. Same thing. Working with archetypes is a bridge. Going from 1 of 8 billion in my very unique experience of this life, it's a bit more challenging to know yourself as the one or as nothing. So that's why we work with archetypes. And we all have access to these archetypes, to all archetypes. They are, by definition, archetypes are universal and archaic. So it doesn't matter what body you're in, what culture you've been raised in, how old you are, what religion you are, or if we're talking to somebody from 1200s or 2021. Archaic is oldest time. Universal applies to everyone. That's what archetypes are. That means we all have access to it. So this path is about making a choice, whether you want to walk that path of wholeness or not. It's a choice. It's not for everybody. Not in this life. Eventually, yes. That's why we keep incarnating. If you wish to, I'd love to hear if there was anything that really stood out from, or you can type in Anything that really stood out from the previous guidance into the light brother, into the dark brother? If there's something that came through with the karmas or something that really stood out for you, just as a sample. And I assure you, as much as you may would have preferred to be unique and special and original, most people can vibrate or resonate with most of the things that will be shared. So just giving you this opportunity to type in. Nothing came. Wow. That hasn't happened before. Let's see. Somebody said, thank you for the information. What stood out for me, I know my purpose and still question it. So the thing about that is how the brotherhood works, and that's why we do the light brother and the dark brother together, is that the light brother has the piece of, I know why I'm here, I know who I am, and the dark brother has, and I can stand for it. But if the dark brother doesn't know what he's standing for, then that can go really wrong. So they need each other. Another one, hard to figure out where some of the things come from in terms of models in life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another one, I kind of work on it, but still not totally committed to it. Also, I cannot claim the part with the dark brother, who the claiming, that really resonated with me. Yeah, that is the dark brother is the most feared and the most shadowed because of claiming without consent, because of abuse of power, because of lack of presence, because you have power without presence. So the claiming, I know what I want and what's rightfully mine, I take, is has become something stunted in humanity, and especially in those in women's bodies. Very much so. But then it's like, well, how do you claim resources? How do you ask for what you want? Whether it's a glass of water or a million, whatever your currency is, or a connection. Light masculine presence, dark masculine standing for the sacred. These are still to know. These I still need to work with. Thank you. Another one. Also, I know my purpose is the claim. It scares me the most is the claim that, yeah. Yeah, because to claim that you know your purpose will mean you will have to make some choices. And that's where the dark brother comes in also. It's like the backing of like, yes, I can. Yes, I know what, and yes, I can. And not only can, but am. I am doing it. I am willing. So yeah. What came to me is that both light and dark felt unloved within me. Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's very important. Many times we point out the finger to men or the masculine out there, and the feminine in women and in men, the feminine in general, but also us as women in general. We have a very big part to play in terms of blaming, shaming, and keeping the masculine in an infantile or adolescent state, because that's what we do to our own masculine. And so, of course, we fear it out there. If this brother inside of here feels like a 12-year-old, of course he's going to be afraid of something stronger out there. Of course. Okay. So again, when I go back to that, how can you love or respect or honor truly the masculine out there if you can't do it within? Whether it's to your son or to your lover or to your friend or to your colleague or to the bus driver, who cares who we're talking about, or to your mother or your daughter, the masculine in women. Okay, last one. I felt both were pretty stunted. Had a huge wave of anger and violence hearing about the too much dark brother. Had a nostalgic for the light brother and a wave of love and wanting to nourish him. Yeah, the light brother. Also, the reputation, the unhealthy reputation for the light brother is like, you're not here. Yeah, physically you might still be here, but you're not here. Or actually, even physically, you're not here. Where are you? You can't be present. You can't hold this. You're not here. And whether that's, we have that about father, we have that about partners, we have that about friends, bosses, whoever's, most likely you probably have it within. Okay, I'll just read what's come in and then I'll move on. Do I have practical advice on how to support the masculine within to mature? Yes, there's a whole course on it. But for right now, what I can say is you have to give them space. You have to give these energies space. And if there's been a quadrant that has developed more, it's at the expense of the others. It takes up more of its space. Like its square is bigger. Yeah, that's what happens. And so there is a trade-off, a direct trade-off. My home base has been the dark masculine. And it was very much at the trade-off of the light feminine. I'm sorry, I've been doing this. This polarity, this has been the dark masculine, light feminine, this polarity. And I had to say to this energy, like, you need to take a step back. This has to develop. I have to give this a chance. Even if it was awkward, even if it was stumbling, even if it was, like I said, it feels like a 12-year-old because it hasn't had the chance to mature. It hasn't had the chance to be expressed. It hasn't been received. It hasn't been recognized. That's how we grow. So that's how, when you're learning a language, when you're doing anything, so you have to give these energies space, the healthy version. With the overdeveloped energies, bring them down, reduce their expression until it can come into more balance. And the stunted versions, cultivate, develop. And again, it may be awkward. And as because you're in a woman's body, it's going to be also challenging. And that's one of the beautiful things about this work. When you do it as a group, there's a bunch of other people going through the same thing. And then you have each other. And it's like, okay. And then others start to recognize, like, oh, look at that. Like that moves through you. And you don't have to call it masculine. It's okay. But I need to plug in my computer. But if that doesn't suit you, you don't have to call it masculine. But to allow that this energy is alive. Humanity needs this. We need the healthy masculine to stand and to know why he's here. Not like a rebel without a clue kind of thing, not to stand, just to stand. And that, why would only half the population be in charge of that? How could that ever make sense? How could that ever be true? Why would you deny yourself that? So how do you develop it? You give it space. And you hopefully will find others. If you're not going to be participating in this intensive, you will find others who can support you while you practice, basically. Forgiveness is the lesson. Overdeveloped dark masculine, constant fighting, taking without consent. When I was going within on the dark, my bleed started flowing like a beautiful red river. It's beautiful. Lesson I take is shed. Good on. Let go of the control. The fighting, let it flow with presence. So it's a very important thing, and I just want to name it right here because you've brought it up. That's a gift for everybody. Control is a poor, really poor substitute for presence. And the masculine, if you use one word to describe the brotherhood, it will be presence. So control is a poor substitute, and that's what most people resort to. Doesn't matter the body, the genitals, most people resort to control, controlling external circumstances or internal tendencies because there isn't enough presence. And that's why you would want to develop your masculine in a healthy way so that you don't have to control, because really it's a losing battle. And this fighting. The true dark masculine, at least one of its forms I can say is the samurai, and that's what's most alive in me in the dark masculine. And the dark masculine is like the one that gets shit done also. You can run businesses, build houses, get shit done. And for me, I connect to it very much like through a samurai energy that's very disciplined, very ancient, very, isn't sitting down and having tea and chit-chatting. That's not the energy of my dark masculine or anyone's dark masculine, to be honest. But this fighting piece, when the dark masculine is in its healthy, it actually leads to less fighting, no need to fight. And then you stand. Yes, you stand, but that's usually enough because the energy it comes with, if it is healthy, and it is the archetypal energy, it is love, it is power, it is life. And that can be felt. And anything that isn't that steps down. It's really that simple. And you might be like, no, but yeah, it really is that simple. I guarantee you. It's how I live my life. Anything that isn't that steps down. There's no need to fight. There's no power over games. No need. No place. That's not the healthy dark masculine. There was many things, but can't stand strong negative emotions, mine or others. So yeah, the light masculine will have problems with the charge of the emotional body, because the light, is this how I was doing it? No, the light masculine, the light, that's what happens when I don't have a board in front of me. The light masculine, its polarity is the dark feminine. And she's the one holding this, whirlwind of emotions and healthy expression of emotions and feelings and connection. And if there isn't enough presence, this quadrant takes over, or if this is overdeveloped. Wow, so cool. I've developed dark masculine too, and now it's time for it to back off. Yeah, I know who you are, and I know the tendency because of the ray quality. And yeah, all I can say is that it takes the same discipline for the dark masculine to be in its presence and its center, the same to hold it back, that there is no damsel in distress that needs protecting, that you have to get in front of and defend. And to the rest of the world, She's fine. She's got it. And you can be equals. I'm stunted mostly in both the dark and the light, but sometimes I go into the distorted version. My masculine felt used and unappreciated. Yes, this is a very important thing, especially for those in women's bodies. We tend to think that that masculine is there to serve me as a woman. Now imagine the same in reverse, right? Now imagine in a man's body, he's like, yeah, that feminine's there to like serve this man, right? We would all be like, same thing. No, your masculine is not there to serve your feminine or to serve you as a woman. He will never develop fully if he needs to live up to what mommy expects or wants. Mommy, girlfriend, sister, whatever your feminine is to him. Your masculine must be allowed to have the space to be appreciated for what he brings in, even if that's not something your feminine is necessarily looking for. And I add that that's how it looks right now. But you as a soul have chosen to go through this incarnation in this way, which means they are a match. They cannot not be a match. They are exactly what the other needs. It just may not look that way right now from where you're looking. Just have to change perspective. Okay. Okay, so yeah, no using the masculine. Because if you're using your own masculine that way, most likely that's what you're doing with the masculine out there, and that's a really shitty place to be. Yes, so Terry, thank you for reminding me. Oh, I just said your name, but I don't think you object. Sorry, I'm not supposed to do that. So yes, you can drink the essence from, this is what she wrote to me privately. She's reminding me to say this, thank you, because she has worked with this. You can drink the essence from someone who is strong in some quadrant. So yes, that describes my marriage. But will describe your relationships most likely, that you are attracted to somebody who has a strong polarity to what you have, and that person will be attracted to you, whether that's a friendship attraction, a romantic, a sexual, working together. But just start to look like, oh, instead of developing this myself, I'm attracted to it out there, and that's how I compensate for it. So do I want to always be with one leg or one arm or half an orange or however you want to describe it, or do I want to be whole? So one way to become whole is to drink. That's the way I refer to it. Drink from the fountain or take the medicine that somebody else is offering or somebody else's fountain is overflowing with. So many people do come to me, men and women, for the dark masculine, for a healthy transmission of the dark masculine. It doesn't mean I'm going to be their dark masculine, but it's a modeling because we don't have modeling. So it's a modeling. So yes, this is one way to grow your masculine, is to find another masculine, whether it's in a woman's body or a man's body, and to drink from those qualities, be in their presence. Oh, this is how it's done. Not that monkey see, monkey do, I'm going to copy this, but this is how it's done. This is how that owning what you want, taking what is rightfully yours, that's wow. And each time that happens, it's like, ugh, I cringe, or oh, it triggers me, or oh, if you think of all the triggers, it's probably stuff you haven't developed yet or have overdeveloped and are trying to pretend you don't. So this is a very great way to become whole. Okay, last one. I have a lot of healthy light masculine, but also equally stubborn shadow aspects. Yeah, normal. Working on not looking down at the body physical and the more earthly aspects of existence. Yeah, that's a lot of people's journey, because we're coming out of 2,000 years of practice looking down on the body and having the light be the thing. So yeah. Big lesson in this life is coming home into the body and embrace the spiritual and physical realities equally. Feel like this is from a previous life, like an inborn quality of a sage-like energy that was content with meditating in a cave and ignoring the material world and the body. I know exactly what you feel like. I remember walking into my first Vipassana retreat in 2005, so 15, 16 years ago, and being like, I'm home. I had never meditated, never, like, I laughed at people who meditated. Like, I made fun of them at that time. I was really like very, yeah, I'm being honest. I was. And I walked in and I was like, and I never wanted to leave. I was like, no, 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 please don't make me go. I know my 10 days are up, but really. And I know I bring this in from a previous life where I have really developed that clarity, that sense of purpose, that integrity of the light masculine. It's a gift I bring. I don't need to cultivate it in this life. And it's really supportive to my dark masculine, bringing him into, because it was overdeveloped, bringing him into balance. And it's also, I know it's not the areas I've had to work on in this life, so I've had to work on other quadrants. It's beautiful to know that you have those gifts and to bring them into balance and to let them support the other quadrants that you'll develop. Okay, I want to say a little bit about the journey because there were some questions, and also answer some of these questions that I have. I have my little notebook here, so I'm old school. I use paper and pen. So again, that samurai, he's like 700 years old. Okay, so the methods I'm going to use. There was a question about what kind of methods I'm going to use. Not like this, where you're just imagining and sensing, but embodied. Embodied means you live it. You're not thinking about it, you're not imagining it, you're living it. You're experiencing it here, now, today, in this moment. So there'll be group work, there'll be some breath, there'll be movement, there'll be going into situations that test your light or your dark masculine, going into the shadows of them directly, naming them, going whether it's overdeveloped or underdeveloped, and working through it. And then working into calling in the archetypical energy. So working with the energy. So somebody also asked, when we work with the archetypes, am I working with, particular representatives of those archetypes, like let's say Shiva or Aries or no, I'm not. Because we're working with the energies. And so you can put whatever names you want to those, but it's the energies that you need to start to embody. Those need to ground in this matter, in this fertile soil, and sprout. So we will do that experientially. So the methods I use are very embodied. Time zone issues. So I'm doing it at a time zone that Australia can join in live in the mornings, and then do the afternoon session their morning, and then their afternoon come back for the next morning. Like that, it's a little broken for them. And all of Europe. For those in the Americas, or those further, even New Zealand can do that. But for those in the Americas, you'll have to go through recordings. And the idea is that you pair up, or more than just two, with others who are registering, who are in your time zone, and you can go through it together. And then you use the Facebook group to share and ask questions and bring in your sharings, and I'll be working with that. With that Facebook group because of the time zones, but also in between. Where do you get more information about the registration? So there's a landing page for registering. Yeah, I got it, no worries. There's a landing page. It's the website is thecross.one. It's really, I'm gonna write it here. I know you can hear me typing, I'm sorry about that. So thecross.one, very simple. And all the information is there, all the details. And in between, there's 3 weekends, and somebody asked what kind of, because the first weekend is working on wounding with the masculine and with men, and what kind of stuff is there. Let's be honest, we can all sing for, love and joy and blessings, and we are the one. But if I've got beef with my father or my ex-husband or my son or any masculine in my life, that's going to poke or push or kick me as I try to be more equanimous. So we start with where we're really at. What wounds do you have from men and the masculine in your life? Let's work through them. Let's address them, whether that's sexual abuse, abandonment, rejection, whatever it is. Let's work through that, and that's the first step, so that there's more space from your feminine to give. To the subsequent 2 weekends, the second weekend we work through the light masculine, and the second weekend the dark masculine, and put it together. The upside, good is not a word I use very often. The benefit of doing this in 3 different weekends, and you would say like, well, I'd rather do it in person. It's not as the same because of doing it in person. Well, the benefit of doing it this way is that you have time to integrate in between. And that those who come and do a full 3-day, 30-hour intensive, which is how they do it right now in person, don't have that same chance to integrate and to really allow this to sink in. And so you'll have 3 weekends, and in between you'll have a chance. I'll be leading meditations, sharing circles, and questions, so that we can go deeper and have a chance to really integrate in your everyday life as things come up, so that you are not feeling like you are rushed through it. Yeah, so this is a great benefit. And the downside, we can say, of the risk, is that the intensity can wear out in between months. But that's why we have the Facebook group, and that's why I'll be leading the meditations there and the sharings and so forth, to keep the intensity going. Yeah, there was also the question about non-binary, and I keep using the word woman, and it is what I identify as in this body. I actually don't consider myself a woman. I consider myself a soul in a woman's body. That's why I can lead men's groups on the masculine. I had one in November, 20 men. And we worked on soul and body union. And this very weekend, today, we were supposed to conclude the masculine for men in person, but because of restrictions, has to be postponed. It's because I'm a soul. I'm a soul that understands the masculine. It doesn't matter if I have a penis, if I have testosterone running through me in the same amount as someone in a man's body, or if you know, no. This is about energies. This is about becoming whole. So every human being can benefit. And the terminology I use is the one that has been my journey. And that's the only place I can guide from, only where I've been. And I've never been a non-binary body. I've been a woman's body. And I've known myself as a soul since I was 12. Everyone can benefit from this, whatever body you're in. Yeah, okay, that's everything I had on my notes. And the last thing I want to say is that I don't need to sell you anything. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I've got tons of stuff already available for free. But this is the world I want to live in. This is the humanity that is awaiting, and it's just a matter of time. And for me, that was yesterday. So we're a little late. So let's do this. This is the world I want to live in. And this is what I believe in. This is what I'm committed to as a soul purpose, is supporting other souls to awaken and to go through their initiations, and for all human beings to know themselves as souls in whatever body they're in. So that's why I'm doing this. Okay, Mariana, yes. Oh, I think I'm not supposed to do that. Anyway, I know you, and I know you don't mind.
No, the wrong button, because now my phone is in German because I'm learning German, and wrong button. Never mind.
Okay, but but you wrote. Do you want to read what you wrote, or you want me to read what you wrote?
Yeah, I can share. No, Taki'h was very, very kind, and she offered me a retreat back in September. And the retreat was in person, and I was in Germany, so I did the retreat in person over Zoom. with a lovely soul that was in the apartment with me. I don't know how we didn't kill each other. It was beautiful. And I received it, and I received it not in a retreat context. So I got to integrate those lessons on my daily routines in person with a person in the apartment with me, which was very lovely. So if you're worried about Zoom stuff and whatever, like you'll receive whatever you have to receive, you're going to receive. Yeah.
Yeah, that was at the time. That's right. That was at the time of restrictions where we could meet here, but people couldn't come in. And there was also, I did a masculine, and the same thing happened. And there were a couple of people who still joined online, and the rest of us were in person. But yeah, you will benefit even if it's online. Are there any questions from anyone here? I've answered everything that came in before. I think I have. I'm just going to check. Please write in your question or say it if you have it. We're almost at time, so I know for me it's 11:30. Okay, I had a list of questions that were sent in. Hold on. No questions? Wow, I was that thorough? Or...
Taki'h. So it says here in module 2 4 masculine archetypes. So isn't it just the dark and the light, or?
So in order to first connect to your own masculine, I will use the standard masculine for men archetypes, the king, the lover, king, father, lover, warrior, magician. And this is as an entry, and then we go to the 2, the dark and light.
Which will be in module 3.
No, the light is still in module 1.
Okay.
And the dark is module 3 with integration. So the time that's taken for integration in the first one is taken to meet your masculine, because yeah, we need a step in, and then at the end to put them together. Can I articulate the benefit of working on the masculine when the feminine is not integrated? Yes, that's one of the questions here. Thank you for naming that. Well, some people feel like they need to do it one by one. Meaning like that's how I did it, but that's my tendency is like I go into something deeply and then I go into the next thing deeply. So if that's your truth, then integrate the feminine first, and that's perfectly fine. And if you start integrating the masculine, it will support your feminine, not because he's there to serve her, but because you're becoming more whole. If your feminine, what you believe is not integrated in your feminine, if she's looking out to the masculine out there to get something, then that means there are things to integrate in your masculine that will then support your own feminine. Yes? Is it clear? I hope so. Okay, there was also there was this question. I have a lot of fear of the unhealthy masculine, and so this workshop brings about both fear and excitement. I'm afraid to face those wounds, and at the same time, I want to be able to protect myself from more unhealthy masculine behavior. And I think I need a strong inner masculine. This fear of facing the masculine wounding stops me. How can I overcome this fear? I feel I need this work, but the fear is overwhelming. I feel safe with the feminine archetypes. I feel held there. Masculine archetypes feel foreign to me, but I want to change this. What can I do? How can I befriend the masculine archetypes, energy, and fear of it? So really the thing I want to stress is that when there is that kind of resistance of fear, it's because whatever's on the other side of it is equally potent, equally powerful, equally is a treasure. And there's some belief, some wounding, something that seems that you need to believe you that you have to protect yourself from that, from whatever is behind that fear. And in fact, you don't have to protect yourself, nor do you need to repress it. It just needs to come out in a healthy way. So, Raisa, you want to say anything? You said you can vouch for that. You want to say anything because you've done this? You don't have to. Okay.
Sure. I mean, I've had experiences, very traumatizing experiences in my childhood with those in men's bodies. And when I went to my adult life, I didn't have any male people around me at all. But and so I figured out that I need to integrate this masculine in me. And when I started working with Taki'h on the masculine, I was really terrified, and I was like totally freaked out and having trauma reactions and like really terrible things the first day. And I was participating the 3-day or the 2.5-day intensive, and just the end of it, by the end of it, I was just finding I had found the brotherhood, and I was at peace with myself and balanced, and just this whole load off from my chest. It felt like that I could breathe. It felt like that I could finally breathe. So it was I was just weeping because I was so happy. And so the thing that was on the other side was really, really as powerful as it was, or as the fear was. So I can totally vouch for that.
Thank you. Same for me in the light feminine, by the way. That's the truth, but that's another webinar. There was another question. What are the signs that a woman needs to work on developing her masculine side? How do I know that this is something I need? It's nothing I can tell you. And it's, if you're searching for something out there and you don't have access to it in here, then it's just a question whether you want to become whole or not. Need? No, you don't need to. You can continue this way. Is this what you want? So I leave that up to you. What does healthy masculine in a woman look like? And what practical steps to take moving towards the inner healthy masculine? I already gave the answer to that. But what does it look like? Many times, like these masculine, I've heard masculine workshops, women are asked to dress as men, and also for the feminine, men are asked to dress as women. And while that can be lovely and fun, and I've been asked to do that, and I have done it, and a lot can come out of that, it's not about what you look like. It's not about the length of your hair, whether you have lipstick or not, or wearing feathers. It's not about whether you have a penis between your legs or not. It's an energy. So what does it look like? It can be felt. And that's the invitation for those in women's bodies and female bodies, is to allow him to be there and to recognize him in each other as women. And then men will also recognize it in you, and you'll have a brotherhood with men. I have a brotherhood with my husband. Does that mean there's no sexual charge or polarity play? Or no, absolutely not. But he can take on the feminine the way I can take on the masculine, and we can have sisterhood, brotherhood, and the polarity, and move around the whole cross. And then you're not bound to half. Why would anybody settle for being half in this life? I really don't understand. Okay, but that's a personal thing. I'm in need of healing of sexual trauma, I already answered that one. Do I have experience in working with these issues? Yes, I do. I have the experience of being on the receiving end, and I have the experience of as a therapist with that. Sexual and abusive past. Does this workshop touch on these themes? Yes, it does. I have heard I'm masculine all my life. I don't feel feminine, have always been a little boyish. And so it seems insane to work on my masculine. And as I write in the landing page, you might have a strong masculine, but is it healthy? That's the question. And if it is, it would be in balance with your feminine. So if you're still hearing that you're very masculine or that you're very boyish, then maybe it's not in balance. And there is a softening in the feminine when this masculine can be, oof. This is how polarities work. You work on one and the other. You end up in the other. The other one gets activated. That's how polarities work. That's how this whole planet works at that level of polarities. So, of course, that you will get the softening or the more feminine byproduct. Would you mention the healthy sexuality of the light and dark masculine? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Raisa. I know we're at time. I'll just take a couple more minutes. Yes, so thank you for that. All quadrants, all 4 quadrants have a sexuality. It's a misunderstanding or myth or dirty rumor that only the bottom half has a sexuality and the top half doesn't, like as if, it's like from the heart down and from the heart up. No, it's not like that at all. All quadrants have a sexuality. It just has a different flavor or energy to it. And the dark masculine is very much about taking, claiming, penetrating. And most of us long for that. With consent and with presence. So the invitation is to be that. The light masculine is presence. Penetrative, but not necessarily through form. I don't know if anybody here has experienced this. I know I have, but the gaze. If someone's looking at your yoni or your body, the gaze. And it's not a lustful, it's not like, it's not that gaze, right? But it's presence. And that penetrates. And the presence of being with everything and anything and just being that container that can hold, or that space that can just be and is unshakable, unwavering. And with all that stuff. I'm not going to say the example I always say because it's a bit longer, and I'll save that for the course. Because I have a very personal example of my first encounter with the light masculine sexuality. But it can be extremely orgasmic, transcendental. You can also make love to God. Okay. I already answered that. I answered that. Procrastinating, you think you might have a weak masculine? Yes, because the masculine has clarity, focus, direction. Yeah, it's A to B. It's shooting an arrow. It's, the feminine is, yeah, masculine, there, high. So if you're procrastinating and you feel like you have less confidence, then yes, most likely you do need to work on your masculine. And one more. So I have issues with my father and romantic partners in my life and men in general. Will I be working with my own inner masculine? Will this improve those relationships? 199% in every way. So, okay, one more. Oh, ravishing. Yes. So the masculine ravishes. This is a word that's a little bit complicated. There's not a translation necessarily. So ravishing is taking, in other languages, ravishing is taking with consent. It's like you can ravish your food, you can ravish a human body. And the shadow side of that is rape. It's taking without consent. I struggle to be present in general, and especially with my emotions. I tend to disassociate a lot and go into the fears. Can this work help me become more present in the moment? Yes, so it sounds like, oh, going to freeze. So going to freeze. Yes, it sounds like there's a lack of, or not enough developed light masculine. Light brother needs to be able to stay. And then that's the journey of us as souls, is can we stay in this human experience? And if we can, then we as humans start to recognize ourselves as souls. So the light brothers, very, very much needed. Thank you all for staying. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions. If more comes up, you're welcome to send me a message or type it in. I will post the recording of this probably tomorrow on my website and on the YouTube channel, and you can make comments or anything else or questions. The early bird special is for a week, so until the 31st of January. It's been a great pleasure, and I'm just thrilled that this work has a chance to go beyond my home borders, basically. Thank you.